the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled is actress-writer Nancy Alspaugh and chef Albert Silvera. Albert has some goodies for us today, so we'll see those later from his restaurant, The Courtyard. Producer-author Nancy Alspaugh was born and raised in North Carolina. Her new journey is to be an activist on the subject of aging. Did you go to college to learn that?
No, you don't learn that in college. When you're in college, you're young and you don't even think about being older. Remember, Joan, when you were in college, you think 30 is old.
Yeah, what did you study?
Well, I started in broadcasting, and then I changed
did?
to an English major because I really wanted to read the classics, and I had a great time doing that. I thought, I can learn about this broadcasting stuff on the job.
Then how did you become a producer? Because you were a very heavy-duty producer in New York. And
what happened was the minute I got out of college, I got a job at a PBS station.
Oh.
I was in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, where my parents were living, and I got a job at WCVE, and I had to do everything from sweep floors to run camera to do audio, and it was the best training. I was the only girl on an all-male crew, and I learned everything. And the minute I walked into that station, I saw a woman in the control room with a headset on, ordering male cameramen around, and I said, that's the job for me.
Oh, that's why you became a producer?
That's why I said, I could do that.
Well, then how hard was it once you left that Virginia?
It was extremely hard. Tenacity. There were times when I'd get frustrated, but every time I got frustrated, I'd come up with an idea, and I'd present it to somebody, and I'd say, you know what, why don't you do artist profiles for your little talk show? And they'd say, okay, go do them. So I would load up the van, I would put in a camera, I'd learn how to shoot on the E&G stuff, I'd learn how to edit, get the news photogs to teach me how, and I'd go out and do artist profiles, and I'd say, here. And then a little show named PM Magazine came along, and it changed my life.
Where was that?
That was in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, it was?
I started PM Magazine there, and I worked my way up from videographer, editor, producer to the executive producer of the show. And a guy came to audition for a hosting job, and he got the hosting job, and he also asked me to marry him. And his name was Matt Lauer.
So you were producing Matt Lauer's show, or were you hosting it? Oh,
I
no,
was
he
producing
was hosting it.
He was hosting it. When I met Matt on the loading dock, I was loading the camera up, and his mother says he called her that night and said, I met the girl I'm going to marry. And I was living with another guy at the time, but that's another story. But anyway, I ended up going with Matt to New England because he hosted PM Magazine in Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh.
And then...
Were you still producing it?
I was producing in Boston then. We were living halfway between Boston, and I got in with Westinghouse Television, which was an amazing opportunity because at that time in the 80s, the sky was the limit for women in broadcasting.
But we think, you're talking about all these outlying cities. We always think of New York, Los Angeles.
They're not the places to learn because usually there's union situations, and I was able to do hands-on things. And to make a long story short, I ended up in Boston as the sort of head of programming for the station, the Westinghouse station there. Matt got offered a job in New York, and then I was offered a bigger position to move to California with Westinghouse. And at that point, we had a commuter marriage. And another part of my youth and naivete was that commuter marriages could work.
But that's what they could work.
I thought they could.
They could work. So,
no.
A husband and family didn't fit into the career then.
We were both dedicated to our careers. I mean, Matt was very young when we got married, and I was young, and You know, the timing wasn't right. I mean, we're still very good friends. As a matter of fact, I know his wife and his little boy. I haven't met their new daughter yet. His little boy and my little boy are the same ages.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And I'm still very good friends with his family.
So family and husband and career fit together at a different time in your life.
Different time. I came to California and I ended up as vice president for Westinghouse Television here in Los Angeles. And I started developing talk shows, one with Vicki Lawrence from Carol Burnett. She had a wonderful talk show that was on for about 2 years. And
you did that? You
I
produced
did that. And then Paramount stole me. I went to Lisa Gibbons and worked with Lisa for a couple of years.
She had a good show.
She's just amazing. I adore Lisa.
That's so great.
And then after Lisa, I did a talk show with Carol and Marilyn, the Mommies.
They were very well known. They came along at the right time.
They did, and they had a wonderful act about what it's like to be a mother that women everywhere, mothers everywhere related to.
Well, were you relating to it at that time?
I
or
wasn't.
Did you just know what
I was struggling with infertility. And then when that ended, I think the last show I did was Dream Maker with Richard Simmons. And not because of Richard, but the show was a nightmare, not a dream. I adore Richard, but the show was beset with problems. And I got very burned out on television, and I quit.
Is that right?
I quit.
And that's when you became an activist for aging? That was way before you started aging.
6 years ago. No, I was in my 40s then. And
you were already aging?
I'm 49 now. I'm going to be 50 in May. I love it. I'm going to celebrate half a century. But Marilyn and I started painting. I never met my current husband, my second husband, Reed Jackson. His mother was an artist, and he had all of her art supplies and easels and things. And one day I picked them up, and I started painting, and I called Marilyn, and I called Carol from the Mommies. We were still very dear friends. And they started painting with me, and we formed a women's art colony, and we started doing art exhibits, and then we started retreats. And out of that, we had an idea to write a book for women. And out of that came this first book, which is Not Your Mother's Midlife.
This you did with
Marilyn.
Marilyn Kent.
Yes. Not Your Mother's Midlife, a 10-step guide to fearless aging. That came out 3 years ago.
But does that mean you're an activist?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Because Marilyn and I said, we're not going to this is not just a book, this is a movement. Fearless aging is a movement. And now we've got the second book coming out this spring, which is Fearless Women, Portraits and Stories.
Okay, I'm going to hold this up. But first of all, I want to know what, not your midlife, what is it? Not your mother's midlife. Why do we say not your mother's midlife?
Because things have changed so much. Come on. We look different. You look different than your mother did at whatever.
Right.
I know, I'm not going to ask you your age, Joan, but I look different than my mother did at 50. My mother was a very beautiful, attractive woman, but they dressed a certain way. I don't carry a rain bonnet in my purse and wear culottes and a sun visor. I mean, it's a different time. We're healthier. We're also discovering there are more choices. I think for so many women, the first half, you live for other people. You live for the man in your life. You live for your parents. The second
children.
half, your children, or if you didn't have children, your career, like me.
So
I forgot to have children. Oops, I was too busy with the career.
Yeah, so what happens?
Okay, what happens is, what happened to me or what happens to most women?
What happened to you, and then I guess the same thing's happening to other people.
Okay, well what happened for me was I focused so much on the career. It was always, I should be successful, I should do this, and I was working so hard to be recognized that I forgot about the personal fulfillment. So when I reached that burnout point in television, I mean, I was getting offered reality shows.
Yeah, you were already at that point,
yeah,
right?
and to be offered a show like Are You Hot? And I'm like, yeah, hot, flashing, but
exactly.
not hot. So it just wasn't fulfilling anymore. When I started in television, I was doing documentaries and things that I thought would change the world. I wasn't doing things that were just about getting ratings.
But that wasn't, and so you weren't even thinking about having a family.
No, and then I really started longing to have a child, be a mother, not give birth necessarily, but be a mother.
I see.
So this leads me to our stage show, which is called Boomer Babes.
I'm going to show this too, because were you ever a stand-up? Did you ever act?
Never acted.
Well, how can you get on stage and be in a play like this with two other women?
I'll tell you why. If I had to memorize things, I'd be dead, because first of all, I'd forget them. You know, what happens in midlife, you start forgetting things. But it's true stories, and I'm passionate about my experience because I feel that sharing my experience, sharing my infertility, sharing my struggle to have a child, which includes a horrible adoption scam, and sharing.
So you talk about that too?
I do. I talk about that my husband had prostate cancer. I didn't expect to be married to a man with prostate cancer. He got it early. What that's like. And I feel like by sharing these stories with women, it helps them feel they're not alone.
Well, is your audience just women?
No, it's men too. And I've had men come up after the show and thank me for being so open and honest, because they say, you know, it's really important that people know. I do a thing in our show about intimacy as opposed to sex, how important in midlife intimacy becomes, because you need to know that you have true intimacy with your partner.
And so, you don't even cue each other then if you're telling if you're telling your own stories? Are you actually cueing each other?
We are. We are.
You
I mean,
still
the show is very entertaining.
Uh-huh.
Marilyn and I do a lot based on our friendship, and you know, she represents the woman who has the empty nest. I represent the woman who has a toddler in midlife. Janice Ryan, our third boomer babe, is single. She's 54 and single, and she talks about the dating wars, and she is hysterical.
Do you interact?
We interact quite a bit. We dance, we sing. I sing.
Did you take singing lessons?
I took a few from a fabulous coach named David Corey of Voice Lessons.
Yeah.
He's so great. And it really wasn't about singing as much as it was my voice, getting my voice out there, not being ashamed of my voice.
Yeah. You're on stage. What's the name of the theater? I forgot.
It's called Theater Unlimited, TU, in North Hollywood.
Theater Unlimited
Yes.
in North Hollywood.
Yes.
But I think that it's too small. I think you have to go to a larger theater.
Well, we've been sold out, which has been just great. And people are coming back after the show saying, I laughed, I cried, we laughed and cried and laugh again, and you know, you just took me from here to there. And that's what we want to do. We want women to come away feeling, particularly because our culture sells us this bill of goods, that life goes downhill after 40.
That's right. You don't want to talk about it.
There is no downhill. Not if you don't let yourself go down. It can go up and up and up. I'm convinced all the way to the end.
So there you are.
Yeah.
I think boomer babes.
Boomer babes. Baby boomers, obviously it's a play on words there. I mean, we are the baby boomer generation.
I'm going to show the back of this because these are fearless women.
Now, these are some of the women that are in the book. We've got Lisa Gibbons there. We have CCH Pounder, Kathy Najimy, Stephanie Powers, Erin Brockovich, Joan London. I got to meet my idol, Joni Mitchell. But I do want to say there are women that aren't famous in the book, women that are proving that they're at their peak in midlife. And at the last page of the book, there's a space to give it to the woman that inspires you. It could be your sister, your mother, your daughter, your mother. But
to buy the book and then give it,
put her picture in and say why she inspires you. Because what we found in talking to women everywhere, we found it with our first book, most women are happier than they've ever been in midlife. It is a total myth that women go downhill as they age. It's not just about the physical. Now, we're not saying...
We're worried about the physical, too, by the time we get to mid-age.
And look, I'm not saying throw out your Lady Clairol, even though I am letting my white streak grow in. I'm proud of this.
To show your fearless aging.
So I am letting the gray and the white go in because I want people to see you can still be kind of, you know, hopefully I can say a little happening, a little, you know, and have some white in your hair. But every woman wants to look good. Come on, we're not saying throw out your cosmetics.
No,
we're not saying,
right.
And if a little nip and tuck here and there, but come on, to risk your life to have all this surgery done, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Actually, in the show, I do a parody of a woman who's had me if I'd had too much work done.
Take it out.
Well, I do it to These Boots Are Made for Walking.
Oh.
So that's, but I do a thing where, you know, I hit 40, started looking older. I decided wrinkles weren't for me. Staying young forever's my intention, yeah. And all it takes is plastic surgery.
That's right.
This body's made for aging. Don't let that make you blue. A little lift, some implants made these boobs brand spanking new.
That's right. Did you write all that?
Yeah.
Did you write it?
Yeah. And then we do a rap to open the show.
Oh, that's so great.
Okay, we come out with swords. We have a rap, and they tell us that we're old, that we're almost geezers. Time for leisure, time for tweezers. Treat us like dogs and call us Rover. Find out that we're 40 and life is over. Britney Spears and Aguilera scare the hell out of our friend Farrah. All the pop stars, the models, the virgins, keep us all running to the plastic surgeon.
I love it. Thank Nancy, thank you. Nancy Alspaugh, our new rapper.
P. Diddy, watch out. Oh, he's passe.
No,
okay,
somebody
whatever.
else. Somebody else. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you,
Thank
Joan.
you.
It's great. You're a boomer, babe.
Oh, I know.
You're a fearless woman.
Thank you. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Chef Albert Silvera. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm with Chef